appreciate Reverend Leah speaking up at my center today. I don't know if you know, but we just traded platforms.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So she's speaking up there, and I'm speaking down here, and we're giving y'all a little variety.
There you go.
As Kelly said, I'm Reverend Jenny Illig, and I am the co-spiritual leader at New Thought Northern Colorado Center for Spiritual Living in Loveland. And I know that everyone at MTNC this morning sends you a lot of love and best wishes for a really warm holiday season. So I want to begin this morning by sharing a story with you. She had been shopping with her mom in Walmart. She must have been 6 years old, this beautiful, brown-haired, freckled-faced image of innocence. It was pouring outside. The kind of rain that gushes over the tops of rain gutters, so much in a hurry to hit the earth it had no time to flow down the spout. Drains in the nearby parking lot were filled to capacity, and some were blocked so that huge puddles laced around parked cars. We all stood there under the awning and just inside the door of the Walmart. We waited, some patiently, others irritated, because nature messed up their hurried day. I'm always mesmerized by rainfall. I get lost in the sound and sight of the heavens washing away the dirt and dust of the world. Memories of running, splashing, so carefree as a child come pouring in as a welcome reprieve from the worries of my day. Oh, to be young again. Her voice was so sweet as it broke the hypnotic trance we were all caught in. Mom, let's run through the rain, she said. What? Mom asked. Let's run through the rain, she repeated. No, honey, we'll wait until it slows down a bit, her mom replied. This young child waited about another minute and repeated, Mom, let's run through the rain. Well, we'll get soaked if we do, Mom said. No, we won't. Mom, remember what you said this morning? The young girl said as she tugged at her mom's arm. This morning, when did I say that we could run through the rain and not get wet? Don't you remember when you were talking to Daddy about his cancer? You said, if God can get us through this, he can get us through anything. The entire crowd stopped dead silent. I swear you couldn't hear anything but the rain. We all stood silently. No one came or left in the next few minutes. Her mom paused and thought for a moment about what she would say. Now, some would laugh it off and scold her for being silly. Some might even ignore what she said. But this was a moment of affirmation in a young child's life, a time when innocent trust can be nurtured so that it will bloom into faith. Honey, you are absolutely right. Let's run through the rain. If God lets us get wet, well, maybe we just needed washing. Then off they ran. We all stood watching, smiling and laughing as they darted past cars and puddles. They held their shopping bags over their heads just in case they got soaked. They were followed by a few who screamed and laughed like children all the way to their cars. So Leah did tell me that today's topic was turning darkness into light. And this is really a topic that I love to speak about because I don't know about you, but I have come through some very dark places in my life. And I have gotten through them using the teachings of science of mind, which is why I love this teaching so much. And really, I don't know anyone on this planet who hasn't experienced some form of pain or anguish throughout their life. And I know that many of you this morning are grieving the loss of your beloved friend, Leanne. And perhaps because of that grief, or maybe for one of a multitude of any other reasons, you're experiencing some darkness right now. So, tired. I can never say this right. Yeah, him. Desjardins. Let's just say that. He says that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Now, I know that knowing that is supposed to make us feel better when life gets all wonky, but honestly, you know, some human experiences can just kick us in the butts, can't they? I mean, really, they kick us in the heart. And sometimes when life gets really hard, we begin to think that maybe we'll never feel good again. Maybe life won't ever be good again. But what I've learned time and again as I have gone through these experiences is that Winters always says, we all walk through the valley of the shadow of death. We just don't want to buy a condo there. So how do we turn darkness into light? Well, through alchemy, of course. You all know what alchemy is, right? You know, well, if you don't. Alchemy is defined in one place as any magical power or process of transmuting a common substance, usually of lesser value, into a substance of greater value. Now, since medieval times, this has mostly been associated with turning lead into gold. That's what the alchemists throughout time have been trying to do, is turn a base metal into gold. But I really like to think of alchemy in the sense of relating to our personal transformation, of turning our lives from ones in which maybe we dread getting up in the morning to ones where we wake up joyful and we leap out of bed just ready and excited to face what the day has to bring. Now, there's a pretty simple formula for achieving this transformation of turning the darkness of our minds, our hearts, our souls into light. It's not a necessarily easy transformation or an easy formula, but it is simple. It's a very simple one. It only takes 2 steps. One is to remember, and the other is to practice. So in this, we remember exactly what these teachings tell us. We remember that there is a power greater than we are and that we can use it. We remember that that power is God or Spirit or divine love or by whatever name resonates the most with you. But we know that this power is really the great alchemist in our lives. It can turn our leaden heavy hearts into a place of golden shining light. And we remember that we are the alchemist's apprentice. And as such, we can co-create our lives through changing our thoughts, beliefs, and our actions. We can co-create lives that are so much happier even than ones that we could ever imagine. Just by changing our thinking and then taking the steps to enact what our new awareness brings. So that sounds pretty simple, right? They're great ideas, they're important ideas, but as I said, they're not necessarily very easy. I know when I was going through some of my dark times, and was working hard to get out of bed every day, that I wanted to know what specific steps. It was great to know these ideas, but what specific steps could I take every day to put into action, to lift myself out of that heaviness? So I just want to share with you what helped me the most. Number one, I made it my mission to remember as often as I could throughout the day that I was in charge. I was the alchemist in my life, and I was in charge of co-creating this better life that I wanted. You know, Spirit has the banquet ready, but we have to make ourselves ready to step up to the table and sit down and fill our plates. So we have to spend time every day communing with Spirit, to take that silent moment where we celebrate that unity between our physical selves, our spiritual selves, and the Spirit above. But it takes some faith, doesn't it? We have to have some faith. We have to have faith that what these teachings teach us really works. And maybe you're not really sure that it works. Maybe you haven't proven to yourself that it does work yet. But I would bet you that if you gave it a try, if you dedicated some period of time, 6 months, a year, to dedicatedly working these principles in your life, you will find that they do work and that your life will be better at the end. You know, Ernest Holmes said that I would rather see a student of this science prove its principle than have him repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. So don't just practice the principles and wait for something to happen. Practice the principles. Know what is being taught and put those thoughts into action. That builds your faith muscles, right? You put something into action, it works, your faith grows. You take the next step, you put something into action, it works, and your faith grows. You know, Spirit will always illuminate the path before us and make that way clear and smooth. So my other daily practice, when I'm not feeling really good, was, and actually it still is, I do this every day, is to practice gratitude. Thanksgiving, so I'm sure that you have heard about gratitude for the last several weeks from Reverend Leah. But you know, this is such an important process of this alchemical process that I just have to talk about it again. It's really one of the most important ingredients in our lives. So every morning when I wake up and every night before I go to bed, I list all of the things that I'm grateful for that day. All of the things that I think that I'm going to be grateful for in the morning, and all of the things that have transpired at the end of the day. Now, when I started this, I had to write them down. I kept a gratitude journal, and probably you know what a gratitude journal is. If you've taken classes here, you've probably been asked to do this exercise before yourselves. But when I first started, I was hurting so badly that it was really hard to find even a few things to write in that journal. So I decided to make a game out of it. I decided to challenge myself. I had to find 5 things that I was grateful for in the morning and another 5 in the evening. And as time went on, I started feeling better. Cool. It's awesome. I mean, pretty soon I found that I could expand my list, right? I found that, as that saying says, where your attention goes, energy grows, that as my attention was shifting into more positive areas, and my life was getting better. I had to change my thinking in order to change my life and make myself a better experience. Now, sometimes when it was hard, I kept 2 sayings, 2 quotes from some famous men in my mind that I would remind myself of during the day. And one of those is from Abraham Lincoln, who said, most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. Right? So I had to make up my mind to be happy. You know, that reminds me of this story about, and you may have heard this, I think it's been around for a while. It's attributed to Ronald Reagan, of all people, but it's a story about this little girl, and she keeps begging her parents for a pony for Christmas, and she begs and begs and begs. And on Christmas morning, she jumps up, she throws on her clothes, she runs out to the barn, and her parents are like, what is she doing? So they kind of follow her out there, and they find her in the barn, and she's attacking this big pile of manure in the corner with this shovel. She's shoveling it all out, and they're saying, what are you doing? And she says, well, with all of this in here, there must be a pony in there somewhere. She changed her mind. She had a positive attitude, and she approached life from this positive attitude, knowing that it was already hers. Her good was already hers. Now, the other famous quote that helps me a lot is from Henry Ford, who said, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So we have to learn that happiness is a choice. It's a choice that we make every day. It's a choice that sometimes we make with every step and every breath, depending on where we are. It's a choice that we make to choose this positive attitude and to look at what we want instead of what we're experiencing. And I found that as I was making that choice, I was paying more attention on what I wanted instead and what I was grateful for. And so I started to feel better. And as I began to feel better, I found I had to really up this game, my gratitude game. So I challenged myself to 10 things in the morning and 10 things at night. And pretty soon I was feeling so good that I had to challenge myself to not repeat a single one any day for a week. You ever tried that? That is tricky. As Karen says, that is tricky. That is tricky. So I know that this all sounds really simple. But if you've been there and you've tried this, you may know that it's not that easy. But it really is true alchemy. Now, I'm not saying that we have a Pollyanna attitude and that we just ignore the painful experiences and emotions that we're experiencing. Because, you know, those experiences really have a lot to teach us. There can be a gift in there if we look for it, just like the little girl with the pony, right? And some experiences, though, especially when they are an experience maybe of deep grief, we need to give ourselves some time to let the alchemy work. I mean, how many times have we seen our friends or our loved ones jump into a new relationship right after they lose a previous relationship, or after maybe the death or the loss of someone that it's their spouse or their partner. You know, they use that new relationship to dull the pain of that loss. And I know the old adage says to get right back on when you fall off your bicycle, but you know, sometimes we just have to sit on the curb and cry for a minute. We have to sit on the curb and cry and nurse our skin teeth. We just don't want to cry so long that we get stuck there. Remember that condo that I talked about? Get stuck there. Honor it. Deal with it. Learn from it and move forward. So walk through the darkness. Honor that sadness for what it is teaching you. Learn what you need to learn, but for goodness sake, keep walking. Lean into spirit. This is where faith comes in. Lean into spirit and just keep walking. So here we are, right in the midst of the holiday season. And this is a season that can be filled with just as much anguish and pain as it can be filled with love and joy, right? Sometimes we don't get along with our families. Sometimes we're alone. There's a lot of reasons why we feel pain. We miss people who have passed during this time. But this is the perfect time to put these principles into practice. So I'm going to give you a little homework for the week. Number one, check your attitude. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on what you want to experience? So look for the good, even in the middle of a pile of crap. Number two, keep building your gratitude practice. Find 10 things a day that you're grateful for. And maybe you'll get so good at this that you'll have to find 10 things a day, 20 things a day, and not repeat the same one on the plate. And three, remember. Remember that you are the alchemist of your own life. Remember what these teachings teach us, and practice them. And most importantly, lean into spirit. Run through the rain, remembering that as this mom said to her young daughter, if God lets us get wet, then maybe we just need a wash. So to close today, I just want to finish telling you what the author of that story said. She said, I want to believe that somewhere down the road in life, this mom will find herself reflecting back on the moments that they spent together, captured like pictures in the scrapbook of her cherished memories. Maybe when she watches proudly as her daughter graduates, or as her daddy walks her down the aisle. She will laugh again. Her heart will beat a little faster. But only they will share that precious moment when they ran through the rain, believing that God would get them through. Yes, I ran. I got wet. I too needed washing. Circumstances or people can take away your material possessions. They can take away your money, and they may even take away your health. But no one can ever take away your precious memories. So don't forget to make time and take the opportunity to make memories every day. And that's prayer. So what a joy it is to know that in this moment, as in every moment, there is nothing but God. That we are always surrounded and enveloped by this presence, this essence that we know to be only good. We know it to be love, we know it to be joy, to be peace, to be wisdom, to be harmony, to be balance, to be every aspect of good that we can call into our lives. And it's an even greater joy to know that we are indelibly linked with this presence and this essence. That it is the very center and circumference of our beings. That there is no breath, no atom, no anything that can separate us from this essence and this presence that we know as Spirit. And I am so grateful in this moment to share time with this lovely community, to figure out together how we turn darkness back into light, how we transform our lives into something better, how we practice alchemy so that we can release the heavy burdens that sometimes we feel that we carry and reveal that shining golden light within. That golden light that is God, that is Spirit, that is love. Because I know that that shining golden light does illuminate every step of the path before us and make it smooth. And I just give thanks for this life-giving philosophy and for knowing the principles that Spirit always moves into action to reveal.